Hi everybody, welcome to my garden and welcome to the first episode of the 2020 gardening season. So today what I thought I would do was walk you through the first steps of planting my garden. As you can see behind me, there's still quite a bit of snow on the ground here in southeastern Wisconsin. We probably have anywhere back here between 6 and 10 inches depending on where you're standing. Now there are parts of the yard that do not have any snow on them, and that's normally where the sun hits, but this particular area is just now starting to get hit by the sun. So I just noticed that the vent on my greenhouse is open, which means it's starting to warm up in there as well. So please join me as I go through the process of planting my garden. So in previous years, I always used a spiral bound notebook to keep track of all my gardening notes, whatever it was I was doing, what I planted, when I fertilized, either that or I just keep a calendar on the wall for like watering schedule, fertilizing schedule, all that kind of stuff. But I wanted to make it a little more official, so I created a planner. And in here I've got a month at a glance, a weekly planner, so I can write seed starting dates in here, all my notes, and then I have another notebook with just a bunch of notes in it. And I take this with me wherever I go, because if you're like me, I am always thinking about gardening. And I'm always watching gardening videos, whether I'm at work on my lunch hour or whether I'm sitting here. I always kind of have this near me, and if I hear a really good idea and something I want to try, I write it down. When I first started planning my garden, the hardest thing to do is to figure out what you want to plant. I knew I wanted to do an all hybrid garden. And so I started recording AAS winners because I thought if I could, I wanted to do the All-American Selection winners in my garden. So I started writing down some of the names of them and where I could find them. And I quickly realized that even though a site advertises that they have AAS winners, it might be a winner from 10 years ago or 15 years ago. And then I started thinking about what do I want in my garden. And I came up with this list. And I'm calling it a CSA garden because for the last 2 years I had a CSA share. Now a CSA, if you don't know what it is a community supported agriculture. It's where you buy into a share of a farm, and for your investment you get vegetables back or whatever they're growing. Some of them are just vegetables, some of them have eggs, some of them have berries, some of them have corn. It all depends on the farm, and some of them get very extensive. They can get into microgreens and you know, into different kinds of meat like chickens and beef and that kind of stuff. So you buy a share and you're guaranteed whatever they get, you're guaranteed a share of that. Well, the first year I really enjoyed it. It allowed me to experiment in my garden, and then I didn't have to worry about having production. And so the next year I had it, I was very disappointed in their quality of produce. It seemed like their quality and quantity had gone way down. And so I decided I wasn't going to do that anymore. So what I did was I went through all the emails I got from my CSA and wrote down on here what I really liked in the CSA. So in my CSA garden, I like the greens, mostly lettuces, kale, and spinach. The sweet and hot peppers, tomatoes, of course, onions, shallots, scallions, potatoes. I wrote here white and sweet, but I didn't start sweet potatoes this year. Carrots, winter squash, summer squash, mostly zucchini, kohlrabi, cabbage, bok choy, herbs, melons, cantaloupe and watermelon, cucumbers, pumpkins, both pie pumpkins and jack-o'-lanterns, beans, peas, fennel, and radishes. And that's pretty much how I determined what I was going to grow in my garden. Because those were the things that I ate, those were the things I really enjoyed. The next step was to draw a map of my garden. So I took some grid paper, and for every square, that's a square foot. So this garden bed here is a 4 by 8 foot bed. This one is 4 by 8 feet. This is 4 by 4. This is a 4 by 8 foot bed. This is a 4 by 8 foot bed. This one is 3 by 6, and this one is 3 by 6. And then this is the 3 foot by 12 foot garden bed. And then I have my vertical gardening spaces. They are 16 feet long, 4 feet high. And then this are 3 panels I have for my trellises or my arbor. And then I have another 16-foot section here. And once I had that down, I put here, this garden here is 20 feet by 20 feet. This is 20 feet. And this is 20 feet. So it's 40 feet long total by 20 feet. And then I made copies of that. Then I took my list for my CSA garden and I transferred it onto a copy of my garden plan. Now I'm sure most of you have heard about the square foot gardening method, and I bought this book quite a while ago. A lot of people use this method of gardening. If you don't want to buy the book, you can go online, you can find these. I found a bunch of different ones. All I did was a Google search for square foot gardening spacing. And you can see, like, this one tells you if you want to plant broccoli, there's 1 plant per square foot. Cilantro, 9. Fennel, 2. And these are all kind of the same. And these were all just pictures that I found with a Google search. However, when it comes to planting, I believe that the square foot gardening method is good if you're going to have a garden full of mixed vegetables. For instance, in that book, it says that you can put 1 pumpkin plant in 1 square foot. But anybody who's ever grown pumpkins knows that if you have a 4 foot by 8 foot bed that's 32 square feet, the thought of fitting 32 pumpkin plants in that garden bed just kind of makes me want to laugh, because you just can't do it. I mean, you just can't. So I think this method is better for if you want 1 pumpkin plant, 1 broccoli plant, 1 cauliflower plant, 9 cilantro plants, 9 lettuce plants, 6 spinach plants, whatever it is. And you want that all in a small bed. I don't think that it's meant for people who want to grow 16 pumpkin plants in a 4 by 4 foot garden. So you got to kind of keep that in mind. With that in mind, this is how I'm going to plan my garden. So I have a key here, but you can't read it. This 4 by 8 foot bed, I'm going to put pumpkins. And I have marked in 2 pumpkins, but I think I might put 3 in, you never know. And then I'm going to grow them in a circle, because you can train the vines to grow in a circle. In this bed, I'm going to have butternut squash. Again, train it to grow in a circle. And the other half of that bed, because this is a 4 by 8 foot bed, I'm going to put onions in here. Then this 4 by 4 foot bed, I'm going to put flowers. In this 4 by 8 foot bed, I'm going to put cantaloupes. And in this 4 by 8 foot bed, I'm going to put watermelons. Now this one, I'm going to put bok choy, kohlrabi, and celery. And in this one, I'm going to do carrots, fennel, herbs, and radishes. Now if we move to the 3 foot by 12 foot bed, I'm going to put my lettuces, some kale, some spinach, some herbs, and scallions or green onions, depending on what you call them, in this garden. Now, for the trellises, last year I had tomatoes in this trellis. I'm going to put peppers in here. And I'm not going to do the square foot spacing. I'm going to put 8 pepper plants in here. And then on the trellis, I'm going to do cucumbers. So cucumbers here, here, and here. And then pole beans here, followed by cucumbers. Sugar snap peas, followed by cucumbers. And in this trellis, I'm going to do this jester squash, which is like a delicata. And in this trellis here, had cucumbers in it last year. I'm going to put tomatoes in it, 8 tomato plants. And then these green squares are all cabbages. Now this garden plan doesn't take into account the fact that I have several pots. So in my pots, I'm going to put potatoes, more peppers, some herbs, and some bush beans. And believe it or not, all of this is in here. So I have my garden all planned out. Now, I'm not promising that what I'm actually going to plant is what I wrote down on paper. I always have really good plans to follow my plan, and I start planting and I just end up putting stuff in the ground. So we'll see how this year goes. I'm going to try to be better organized because I really want to see if I can get the same production or better that I got from my CSA and have all the vegetables that I like to eat with no experimenting, which is going to be really hard for me because I love to experiment in the garden. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Sharon's Home and Garden. I really look forward to getting in the garden, getting my hands dirty. I am months away, months before I can dig in the garden, but it'll be here soon enough. Pretty soon I will be starting my seeds, and then before you know it, I'll be planting them outside. So until next time, thank you so much for watching, and always remember, if you like what you saw here, don't forget to click on that subscribe button and give me a thumbs up. And until next time, happy gardening, everybody. Bye-bye.